Okay, we're going to go ahead and start our work study session for Dickinson County Commission for April 23rd, 2026. Of course, on this, it's informational. We gather information, we get reports. Formal actions are taken at the 11 o'clock meeting. So this is just informational. We have on the agenda Martin Tannehill. So Martin, you're up.
Martin Tannehill, Director of Public Works. Go over a little bit what we have going. First under is noxious weed department. We're rolling out to spraying for the noxious weeds as the weather is permitting. The wind has been beating us up a lot more, but we have completed 4 townships so far this year. And we're into the 5th, and it's moving along well. Sprayers are working well. And also the private sales chemicals for the farmers is up about 2.25% this year. We're at $7,895 for the year, or for the first quarter. And last year we were at $5,186. The other thing that's changed out there, we are now using Pub Works to track our herbicide sales, our inventory, our township spraying, and we're moving along. Sarah's picking it up. And of course, that also brings up that we're meeting with about G-Works, which was formerly going to be the Pub Works part and take it over. And there was a meeting that I couldn't make that Marcus, I believe, was at. And not a terrible increase, but a couple $100 this year for the fee. It's around $5,000 now. It's around $5,200 roughly. So our only decision for me there is how much data do we want to move to the cloud? How far back do I want to pick up and get in the live, on the cloud? Do I take a bunch of it and store it a second way so I can still find the historical? But how far back do that was Dustin's question to me, what to figure out where we're going to go. I think 10 years, but minimum 5, I got to go back. The problem in Public Works where I need the most information is actually on the fleet. Because when you have a grader that's 20 years old and you need to pull back the water pump that you changed 16 years ago, then it's in the historical data. But right now, it's not historical. It's hit the button, put in the VIN number, it pops up. You can find every part, every oil change, anything we've done. So we're working on moving to G-Works as it goes. Each year we have 15 sections from the KDA that we have to inspect for thistles and bindweed, the noxious weeds. And so far, Sarah and I have done 5 sections, and out of the 5 sections we did, that has generated 5 letters to the landowners that you have must thistle and you should spray. So don't want to say where they're at, but they're getting their notes. And that's about it for noxious weeds.
So typically, do people follow up on that pretty good, or is that I mean, what?
In all honesty,
Historically,
it's usually 2 years worth of letters, because you go from just a friendly letter, hey, we spotted most thistle on your property, you should spray, you should get rid of it.
Yeah.
Right. So if they don't, the next year's letter is a little bit sterner. And then the 3rd letter is the letter the KDA is going to issue a fine. And if that don't work, then we're going to come spray it and we're going to bill you for it. So it does take 4 or 5 years to force the final action because it's private property. But yes, we kind of surprising that we had 5 landowners already this year that we spotted them on, which, although that's 50, 60 landowners, we didn't see anything wrong.
Yeah.
But a little bit of bindweed on the roads and the thistles are popping up. And know about weeds, the drier the weather, the better the weeds grow. Your grass won't grow, the wheat won't grow, but weeds will grow. And they'll multiply this year in the dry weather, so we need some rain. So. Road and Bridge Department. Reese Construction is nearing completion of the third bridge out of our 3 bridge bid we did. The one on 500 Marine. They got asphalt, which should be going down today, by the way. Guardrail, little dirt work, epoxy the deck, and then seeding, putting the grass seed down. Weather permitting, I would see that completed in the next 2 weeks. Bridge will be done, and we'll be done with that contract that we have with Reese. L&M is on 1100. They are in the process of pre-drilling the H-filing holes and drilling H-filing. There will be an add-on on that bridge. We're not sure how much, but first H-filing they drove went deeper than it was supposed to. So they'll have to weld on and add H-filing, and we get stuck paying for that. So I do not, it's just getting started, so I don't have an update with that. Brothers, they're working on microservicing Jeep Road right now. If it was a sunny all day, I'd say they'd complete Jeep Road today. We're almost done with Jeep Road. So the first 11 miles of the 22 miles they're doing will be done this week, I would say. So our crews are out putting tubes under blacktop roads since we can now get asphalt. We did one on Farm Road south of Solomon, and today they're hopefully finishing up with the one on Rain Road. And we have 5 more to get done that are just under the paved roads on tube replacements. The other crews are out dirt patching all over every paved road. We try to drive the whole 208 miles with our dirt patcher and see if we can get all the soft spots fixed up. Chanel and Marcus and I were in negotiations with KDOT on monies for future damage to our county roads surrounding the K-15. That did close this morning, North 18. It is now closed, and they closed it sun up this morning and went up there. So we'll see an increase on our roads. So we have to negotiate a contract with KDOT on monies that they will put in the contract to pay us for damages to roads. All right. It's a very hard thing to know how much to set it at, but the contract does have to be set with a not to exceed amount. Okay, so we tried to meet with Brent yesterday and the day before. Again, Brent Terry Strip Play Center, and he was busy, and now Janelle's gone. So I would venture Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. We'll be getting back with him, put some numbers together, and had the engineer work with that with me. And if you re-overlay just the paved miles from Dickinson Street down to 18, down by the church, that'd be $740,000. Well, they're not going to put that in the money. So we're broken down, trying to guess, and we haven't settled on this number, but we're somewhere at about 164,000 to see if they can agree to maybe that. You know, trying to ask, they have a form I'm sure they use when they do this, you know, a mathematical form that KDOT has used in the past, and I'm trying to get Janelle to get Brett to maybe furnish that so we could see how they've always, because some places they do use the county road as a detour, and then it's built right in and what they figure the damages will be. So we can do it. The job has started. We can still make this decision. And then there's a decision, do you take what you set Do you take the whole amount up front, or do you bill them monthly? By what you're doing to the roads. Now, I have to say, all the repair will fall on my crews. We have to do the repair, or, I mean, we could hire a contractor. So.
Most likely in-house though.
Yes, you want to try to do it in-house. We will see, I'm hoping by this afternoon, we put up a traffic count and sign. Do you remember the white signs that had the flashing numbers? We're having trouble making the computer work to count the traffic. So I've tasked Mark and Billy with getting a counter up there and on the road. We know historically it's 125 vehicles a day travel that normally, and 11 semis. That's 11 trucks. That's how it's counted in our bridge. So.
Now, you're speaking of the industry road.
Industry road. In all reality, that's going to be the road. We've got other roads in the mix. We put a few $1,000s on the gravel roads, 3,400, and down Mink Road, because local guys are going to know they can turn there north of the bridge and go straight down Mink Road and get back to 18. So we will have an increase there. So we put money in 4 gravel road locations and then the 2 paved locations. So
I was going to say, and normally I maybe wouldn't be quite as familiar with some of this, but I'd gotten a call from an elevator where they were going to deliver grain trucks down through here and had a contract, and so they were concerned about that Highway 15. And what KDOT was telling them is go east from Clay Center, go east towards Wakefield, and go that as your route. And they figured with the extra time and the fuel, they're going to lose $132 or so. It's going to add to their cost, and they were under a contract.
it was a big, it's a big amount.
So then I said, well, what amount? It was 1,000 trucks. And so you get 1,000 trucks, for them, it was quite a hit. But also that tips everybody off that those aren't the only trucks that are going to sidetrack and go through that road and go down there, plus all that extra traffic.
Yeah, even if all we got was 1,000 extra trucks.
And that was over a 6-week period, from what I understand. It was going to be a 6-week period. So it might be 7 to 10 a day.
Yeah.
If they weren't going on weekends.
Yeah.
But you've got the Amish group. Sometimes they'll have a dozen cross that road up through there.
Mhm.
And then you have those extra trucks. Then you're going to have school buses on there anyway. And, things like that. I mean, so there's a lot into it.
It's going to be interesting to what happens on our road.
And this will be through harvest.
Yeah, and maybe both.
So
Maybe the wheat harvest and maybe early fall harvest, depending on how long it takes to build the bridge. I would say 8 months on the short side, getting the bridge built, 10 months on the long side. And if it runs a little long into that, we'll be starting to hit early fall harvest on top. We know we'll set through wheat harvest. It's going to hit us. So.
And then I didn't know this, but I had someone advise me that, we have 80,000 pound trucks is kind of your round number. And in Nebraska, it can be 90,000 pounds. And so, you have that extra weight. But, one thing I think is important, and the discussion about taxes always comes up. And, it was 5 or 6 years ago that we worked with Clay County to replace that bridge at Industry. And this repair on Highway 15 wasn't really even on the radar screen hardly at that point. But if that bridge had not been replaced, the weight limit would not have been adequate for the detour of these trucks. And so, there's things like that the county and you guys continually do on a rolling average, taking care of bridges and getting them taken care of before it's ever a problem. And then when something like this comes up, that bridge was already in place. But if it had been deferred maintenance, let's push that down the road,
Then
5 years or 10 years, then we've got a bigger problem. So, I think sometimes, we need to keep in mind, where are those dollars going? And I think sometimes there's examples like that bridge where it's something tangible that people can see and relate to. And
yes, I think they're very lucky that we did replace the bridge for traffic's sake.
yeah,
The local sake that
yeah,
we were not replacing that bridge. You are correct. They wouldn't have been able to go there. No trucks anymore.
yeah.
So,
But at the time, there's so little population up there. It's like, other than that's the route that it feeds into from. And Clay County helped with that too.
yeah, they did. They paid, I believe, somewhere about 26% of the cost. And we picked up the rest because we're evaluating.
And KDOT's going to work with us, like Martin was talking about, on helping with some reimbursements for this, but in reality, there's no chance that we're going to be able to get what it'll actually cost us for the wear and tear of that road, just based on the amount of traffic compared to what we would typically expect on that road. Luckily, it'll be able to handle it, and they've done everything to film it, make sure we're going to know the condition prior to, so we can show KDOT after the fact what the road conditions look like. And so we're going to do what we can to negotiate for the highest amount possible. But I do know that because they have another detour identified, although a lot of people are going to choose our county road over that detour, they are at least offering an option. And so I know we probably won't get the top everything we need, but we're going to try to get as much as possible.
Yeah, I'd say there's little chance that we would even come close on what they would give us.
Mhm.
So we're going to have to eat some of that. But I don't know what it would have cost, but their other choice would have been to make a good road, shoe fly, to handle semi-traffic and 15 traffic, make a shoe fly around it. And obviously, the cost of that is extreme, so they didn't want to go that way. That's why they detoured it away. All right. But they do have that defense. Sorry, they went on your roads. We gave them a detour. That will be their stand on it when it comes down to money.
Now, at this time, there's no pilot car or anything like that.
There's nothing.
It's closed.
I drove up there this morning. It is completely
Sealed off.
Yes. I actually followed vehicles up there, and they made 5-point turns to get turned around and come back out. Trying to think maybe it wasn't completely closed yet, but the signs are up and it is.
Well, Martin, also, speaking of bridges, and I think you guys hear me bellyache often about, we have a bridge down 1100 Union Road and want to know why we can't get it done today. And then when Martin's giving me some good information, but actually in our area, District 1, there's been 15 bridges that's been replaced. Structures, a little bit shorter than bridges. There've been 30 of those in the area. So folks out there need to understand where some money's going, and 24 tubes put into District 1. So there's quite a bit of dollars to actually sank into the road thing. And I don't think you have enough money, seems like, to go around to each of our different districts to work on those things. But we always hear the ones that are out, and why are we not doing it?
It's only about the bad one at the moment.
Yeah.
When we were looking through our book, we had 12, 15 bridges that we need to fund over the next years to get built, and them are just under the ones under pavement. They're in the realm or at the rating stage where we could apply for funding. And of course, you can only apply one bridge at a time. Each way you can apply. Just with what we have in front of us, there's 15 more years worth of building bridges just in that small group under the pavement that need to be looked at and done now. So, or done now, done as soon as we can get them done. So we have a lot of weight limited bridges.
And the number of bridges we do a year, approximately.
Well, In District 1 over the last 10 years, we've averaged 1.5 bridges a year. Okay, so that's about 2 bridges a year countywide every year. You know, that's
So District 3 would have had a similar,
yes, and I'm working on that. I just was only able to get,
yeah.
it takes a while to compile that,
Sure.
you know.
No, but
So we
I,
got one done, but by next week's meeting, I'll have the other district on it. And you know, you talk about
we
payment.
could just have one we're wanting.
Well, you talk about payment, that yours is on that list, okay? I mean, it's one that we know we would try to get.
Not by the high school, so.
You know, Mud Creek, I mean, it needs it, it's too narrow, blah, blah, the deck's always giving way and potholing out, but
It's been hit a few times.
yeah, it's been hit a few times. But that-
Piece is missing.
Yeah, when you have 286 bridges out there, it's just an enormous task to get all of them built in the right place. And we have over the years had to close bridges and remove bridges. And we have done that over the years on roads that where we could make that work.
And it's
You
one
know,
of the
it's a
highest. Big cap.
sad deal, but even if we wouldn't have removed the one on 1700 west of Jeep years ago, it would just be sitting there with barricades waiting for a future funding system. You know, it's just because a bridge on Old 40, by the traffic count, 2,000 cars a day or 10. You know, that traffic count plays a lot when we look at rating the bridges on what it is now. So,
Well, like Lynn here, he's got just 10 of them right here in the town area.
yeah.
Bridges.
Yeah, but
So I guess you had that
some of
many.
them on the city.
Well, the city though,
City, I mean, but I
the city
mean,
takes,
yeah,
but the one on what was kind of the old 40
That one's still.
on Mud Creek, that's the one that's,
Yeah.
big one, yeah.
and,
Mm.
and one of the difficult things about that is if you oversize the bridge, all of a sudden it looks kind of weird for the road because,
Then you need road to go with.
so the road needs to go with it. But if they do the road first, and I don't know really how much wider the road needs to be, but it's just that if someone's running or
Since we all.
bicycles and then inexperienced drivers at the high
We
school.
all drive it, you don't have room for a bicycle on the road and meeting somebody. If there's a bicycle riding the white line, you still gotta stop and let the other car pass.
Mhm.
You know, it's just barely meets the limits at 24 feet wide, but that's just, it's not wide enough safety wise. In today's world, if they were building it, they'd have 2-3 foot more on each lane, you know. And but future, it'll be built that way, you know.
Well, Martin, but this is, I don't want to sound crazy here, but in the county newsletter that's been some time back that they published, I was reading where a county in another state was using those military tank bridges
Yes.
on the county roads.
Yeah.
Is that,
It may be feasible on township roads. I'm not gonna say it's not.
right?
You know, our problem here is getting it to pass the KDOT inspection portal mud. So if the state would adopt to it, then we could. So it's really more up to them because they're the ones, them and the federal government are setting the requirements for to pass inspection. So it's the same thing, you know, when you go to the conference, you hear the guy about the railroad cars and doing that. The problem we have with it is it don't pass our muster to weight limit it, to do the engineering of what it will hold. You know, you could put it on a low volume road or whatever and no heavy traffic. But when you buy a used railroad car, no engineer can tell you what the strength, what is the strength of it, where they have a calculation of new steel beams or concrete and rebar. They know how much what it will hold. Our problem from the engineer's aspect is we can't rate it. If we put one out there, the state would come in and go on the safe side, okay, that's only 3 tons, you know, because you can't rate it. You don't actually know the tensile strength of the used thing, or, you know, now The military might most likely have it set what, have a drawing that rates it and could actually tell us the strength of it,
Yeah.
Did they say what kind of money they were looking at, or just it was some savings?
No, it was very, very, very cheap.
Yeah,
And it was surplus property
right.
that the government was getting rid of. And so some of the counties were using those for a lot of our township roads that guys use for, farming.
Yeah.
Those would work ideal for things.
Yes, the township roads would be where I could be used.
Yeah.
Yes. But anyhow, we have a lot of bridges to get taken care of over the years, so.
Mhm.
Now let's a little bit on the sanitation side. We have inspected 13 permit applications in the first quarter. That's either putting in new septic or drilling a new well or what have you. So we've done 13 so far. And in the first quarter, we've had 10 lender evaluations. That means where the realtor got a hold of us and the sale was starting to happen, and we have to inspect the system before the sale can go through. So there's been at least 10 out there that are changing hands. And we've done just 7 water screenings that people have brought in and just testing their water. So just a little bit of work, stay with it, So service we do for them. Yeah,
What do those inspections cost? Like when the lender has you doing evaluations? I mean, is that something that that they get a billing for it, or?
Yes, yeah, they're $25 for the water test or what have you. I don't want to misquote the price on it. Yeah.
But it's really kind of a minimal.
It's a minimum deal. There was somebody coming the other day looking at her dad's property, and he had 3 wells. And it wasn't a whole lot. And she went, "Oh, okay, I'll bring them in." And usually when you're testing your own well, we give them the bottle and the baggie and get both samples for us, because you're testing one in a heated element in the stove and the other one is not. And we really can only test for certain things. If they want a more complete test, they just send it to the state. We tell them where they can go and what else they can do. But we can tell them what kind of nitrates are in their water and that's usually all most of them need. Drinking wise, the well's up to the taker.
So other than nitrates, though,
Okay, I'll drink that well water.
nitrates, though, I mean, other than that, are there some other issues, health issues?
And there are bacteria in it. There's, some wells can have a lot of bacteria, and definitely we can tell them that's, it's not potable. You can put it on your garden, or water your grass with it, but do not drink the water. We can help them there, I mean, so Dickinson County is very blessed. Their water's really water has been pretty good overall. I mean, I live near Jackson County, and a lot of their little towns, so people had to boil it. Even when I was young, the water was just wasn't. I'm sure they've redone their water system and all that over the decades, but yes, our Dickinson County is very blessed with that good water underground.
So probably, though, people ever so often should check their wells anyway. I mean, is that
It's especially when
what's the
a drought year, when the water table changes a lot, we've had an extended period of drought, you should recheck it, because that water table moves, that can change the complexity of the water. So yes, I recommend it. During the rainy season, maybe not as much, and the wells up. I worked on farms and we ran the wells dry. It does happen. It comes back after, so long, but you can run out of water. And when it gets down like that, then after it starts to come back, I would venture to say maybe you ought to test your well water.
Mm.
The other thing coming up is the transfer station. KDHE did include approval on a solid waste management plan that y'all signed there the other day, and they've accepted it. First quarter tonnage is right on track, 2,400 tons in the first quarter. We are still in researching prices. You know, we've all talked about the contract coming to an end out there with our haulers. And we still haven't got all the answers back we're looking for to what it would cost to tip ourselves, take it and so forth, where Marcus has most of the numbers in front of him, but we don't have a complete set of answers yet for y'all.
And to kind of just branch on that a little bit,
If you
to
would.
give a little bit of a preview of why we're even talking about that. So we have, right now we have a compactor system out at the transfer station. So we have a compactor, and we have, is it 3 trailers right now currently?
Right now.
That are basically specialized trailers that Hams was using before. Now Republic has bought out Hams, so it's Republic that's now managing our transfer station. Those trailers are specially made, and they're the only ones that were in Ham's fleet that are actually built this way. And so when they have to go and replace those trailers, it was basically just for Dickinson County at this point, because we're still using the compactor system and not a top load system, where a lot of the transfer stations are now going to an area where you can pull the semi in and the loader will actually be able to just top load right into the trailer. And so they talked to us about that, to where if they were going to have to replace the trailers, which are, I believe, somewhere around $125,000 a piece, that they were either the county was going to have to purchase the trailers in order to continue to operate in that direction, or they wanted us to look at what it would take to become a top load type of facility. So, you know, we've tried to have Caw Valley take a look at the transfer station and see what our possibilities were. At first, they didn't think that the footprint was going to work in our current location, so they even talked about having to move locations. So we're just evaluating things. Now they've come back with at least an example of how they could take the current footprint of our transfer station and turn it into a top load facility at a little bit more reasonable cost than actually, obviously, if you had to move a transfer station, which would be significantly higher. And so if they were able to go to that type of direction, then they'd have other trailers in their fleet that would work with the other communities and counties and municipalities that they already work with. So then the trailer situation may change to where we wouldn't have to purchase the trailers outright, and that would be factored into our costs. So once we got that information from them, we wanted to make sure that we kind of looked at all avenues on what's going to be the most cost-effective and affordable solution for the future with our transfer station. That's some of this information that's in front of you here today, which includes some numbers that show some of the demolition costs if you were to move to a top load facility. It also shows the equipment that would be involved if, for instance, the county were to take on some of these services and actually haul the trash ourselves, as opposed to having Republic or Hams haul that for us. So we're trying to look at all avenues to make sure that we have the most cost-effective solution for the future. Sorry, I kind of interrupted right
No,
on that, but
I have a question for you, Marcus, there.
Yeah.
Well, and Martin, how many pounds do those trucks haul?
22 ton is the maximum that Hams is allowed to. Okay, that is in their agreement with the roads in the state. That could be changed. You can apply and haul upwards of 28 ton on a load. You just have to renegotiate with the state what you're hauling. But that trash isn't as heavy as the compaction.
No.
Right, you can't. I don't think you can ever send one out loaded. It'd have to be a very unique load of material to get it overloaded. So that is another reason that it takes 2 loads a day on the average out, because they can only put so much on. They're full, but they're only 20, 21, 22 ton.
It's not
It's not
not very
very much.
much, yeah. Because one of my thoughts were is, when we had talked about some time ago, is when you go up that area, Kansas City, they've got pretty good road rock, good hard rock, and haul back, so nobody's going empty either way. But I don't know if those trailers are designed for that, and that would be a situation. But the other problem I was wondering about, why are we hauling it so far? Isn't there any place here that we can put that material?
They don't per contract because they're hauling it to their own personal landfill. They own the one in Perry,
I see.
Lawrence area.
Oh,
Yeah, so Republic Hams owns that down there. So they have the contract, so they take it to their own tipping. Obviously, the money,
yeah.
it's farther, it's a savings for them. They're not paying Waste Management or Salina a fee.
No.
If we hauled it, yes, we would attempt to haul it closer. Not that it would work out that way, but we can haul to Salina for about $52 a ton if I was hauling it today. Okay, so that's what their tipping fee is right now. And tipping fees typically change every year, by the way. I mean, everything changes, but today's cost is 52. And that was kind of what I was saying. I'm still waiting on Waste Management, the one out north of Topeka, and the one in Lawrence to give me a tipping fee price. They have not got back with it yet. So.
And with our current contract that was originally negotiated with Hams, I think we're currently around $69.25 a ton. And then there's also a fuel surcharge of $3.60 per ton. So we're technically around $72.85 a ton this year. Fuel surcharge kind of fluctuates depending on the year. So based on what Martin was just telling you, the tipping fee would be $52 if we took it, hauled it ourselves versus the $72 that we're paying them. But then we have to factor in that we only have that $20 per ton. And if we take that on ourselves, that means that includes hiring staff to haul truck drivers. You got to hire a loader. You've got to purchase a loader. You have some additional insurance involved. And then likely we would have to find some financing for that up front because so we may, as if we don't have enough in the environmental services to just spend $1 million in 1 year. So you would have to probably pay that out over a number of years. So there would also possibly be a loan payment or a bond payment that would have to go back into that as well. So when you factor all that in, those are the numbers that we're trying to make sure still makes sense. And we have to be able to prove that there's going to be a savings involved to go away from having that contracted to make sure that it's the best solution for us.
So this is state mandated how it's been handled, right?
How it's handled.
The state mandated the counties. That's how we have to handle the waste.
Yes.
But there's no funding from the state.
No.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yes. Just
Surprise, huh?
surprised this you told what to do.
Yeah.
And now you say we say $52 a ton to take it to Salina, but all fuel costs on top of that could be 60 grand a year, 55, 60,000 a year. 5 miles to the gallon, 2 trips a day, every day, and the loader's fuel. There could be 50, 60 grand in fuel costs that Marcus is going to have to figure into that overall setup that we're trying to get all the numbers in to actually show what we could do it for, and how close either Republic is or isn't, and giving us a good deal.
And the big number we're really waiting because we don't have information from Republic yet since that purchase just happened recently. We're not sure where they're going to come back at. We tried to reach out to some other companies like Waste Management, and they did meet us here and evaluate our process. And they didn't really come officially and provide an actual offer. They basically came and said, it'd be very challenging based on our situation for them to take us on. And if they were to, it would be at likely a much higher rate than what we're even at currently. So we're not sure if that'd even be an option. We're waiting to hear back from Republic, and we hope that those numbers come in reasonable. And then once we see those and a timeline from Republic, then we'll really be in a place where we have to start making some decisions. But for now, we're really just trying to line out all the potential options, all the costs, and all the variables that would be included in that. Because then we'll have to reevaluate also, what our fees are at the landfill, because we don't want to have to increase those significantly. We're trying to do this and keep our customers, I say customers, taxpayers, any of the landfill users, at a similar price point, but obviously the costs continue to increase, and the transfer station is still funded through those fees. So we want to make sure that we're collecting enough to at least pay for the operations. So those are all the things that we're thinking about and working through right now. But so we're not bringing anything to the table today that we expect a decision on. We're just bringing you information to let you know this is what we're looking at, and we'll continue to bring you more information.
What we think equipment costs.
Yeah, so we have some estimates on there for the used equipment. I think you kind of have a breakdown on the summary of the proposed transfer station updates there. There was about $390,000 that went into the preliminary estimates from Caw Valley for the actual building, working the land, and moving that to a top load facility. And then when you start to factor in some of the equipment, you look at a used loader could be anywhere from 100 to 200,000. The kit that we'd need to put on for the loader to outfit it to work for the landfill would be somewhere around $50,000. There's a rubber and tire excavator that would be needed that's around $30,000 to $60,000. Right now, we have entered on here 2 live bottom trailers. We could also, it would make a lot of sense to be able to have 3 potentially, so that you can have third. It also provides some changes in how we'd be able to staff that, so that potentially you could load one on a Saturday but haul it on a Monday. So we're trying to factor in those costs as well. You potentially need 2 semis, and then additional staffs. You need someone working the loader, and then also a driver to haul the trash. And then right now, after talking to K-Camp, they estimated somewhere around an additional $5,500 per year in cost to ensure that additional equipment and the people hauling the trash as well. So that's some of these.
It's bare bones, pretty much. But I mean, just
The rough cut it does.
just out of curiosity, the used loader, 100,000 to 200,000.
It's a big load.
What does a new loader cost?
350,
375.
375.
And the used loader.
Infill loaders, you hate to take a brand new loader and then foam fill the tires and weld on that big front bucket. You have to have them. It's kind of like a brush loader. You got to have all that higher protection between you and the cab, that is added to the bucket. And foam filling tires is not, that's a few $1,000s a tire to get a tire foam fill. So it's not cheap. And then you can't ever take that loader and put it out on the roadway for other use. It beats you to death. You couldn't go down the road with it, So, yeah, but the semis, you can buy them are cheap. I mean, not cheap, but used semis,
How old would the used loader be? I guess you'd go by hours, but also.
Yeah.
Is it something that's 10 years old or?
It had to be in a used piece of equipment. I couldn't answer that without being and Billy and I both going looking at the machine and run, testing it and run. It's definitely something we wouldn't buy off the internet on a picture. We would have to see the machine, see it operate, see how, what's wore out or what ain't wore out. We would by no means want to buy something that's got much wear to it already, because it is under pretty constant use out there. The only difference is the loads aren't heavy. A scoop of trash is not heavy like a scoop of ground or sand. So it doesn't get overworked muscle wise that way, but it's the amount of trips. And there's a lot of loaders that a lot of companies get rid of it. You know, they rotate, they've got a set plan every 5-7 years. They change out or every 5,000 hours. So the market for used loaders is availability is there for it.
Reasonably good, then.
Yes, it's reasonably good because
I'm just curious.
yeah, there's a lot of companies that rotate and keep their equipment up to date, new, and you know the business they're in that works for them. You know, as on the loader we use, for example, out in the with the brush pile, the metal pile, what have you, they've always taken the hand-me-down from the road bridge crew. After we had decided it was about done for us, we foam filled the tires, tuned it up, and we use them out there just until they're gone because of the nature of what you're doing with your equipment there. So, but right now, we still got quite a bit more to collect before we have a solid for presentation to you what we can do or what we can't do. We really need to see Republic's answer on what that would do it for. That gives us a top end number. We got July 31st next year, the contract is up. So one way or another, we'll be either changing or re-signing with something.
I think there might be a comment.
I was just gonna ask, do you do queries on all, you have to do queries on all your drivers, they're all CDLs, aren't they?
All my employees, for one, has a Class A CDL. We have one with a Class B.
Yeah, well, those are increased costs too.
Yes.
Not just insurance.
Yeah, well, I think when Marcus figured the employee cost, he did set it as a, say,
Yeah,
CDL.
yes, we did have to, because it does change even like where they fall, like on the pay plan based on those qualifications as well. So it's and when you factor in even just, you know, adding employees and health insurance and benefits in that, it's never, you know, it's never cheap. So it's just something you really have to look into when we're factoring in all these costs.
Yes, it is.
It's very hard.
And we have hired, sent people to Hutchinson and got their CDL and so forth. But if you take something like this over and then you start hiring, that's why we're starting early with this. You know, you gotta have that guy in place the day that contract ends, and all that very next load of trash would be ours or whatnot. You know?
Well, finding the trucks and all of that.
Yeah, we haven't got, nothing's been bought or done at this point. Yeah.
Well,
Still looking to see what the numbers bring.
I just didn't know here all, it's just a lot.
It's a lot. We're looking at also even the options of potentially if we were to break some of that out and contract with some of the local haulers, if there was a possibility that they might be able to make an arrangement where a driver could do that. So we're trying to look at all different options, whether that be our personnel option or the potential of having someone at least haul the trash for us if that was something that would fit into their business plan. Or so we'll look at those costs as well and at least try to get a cost estimate on that so we can compare the differences. But yeah, there's a lot of it.
You have a request out for that from a local trucking company, hauling company. What would you, every place is different. He'll give us a price to haul the Salina per load, Topeka per load, Dolores per load, wherever it may go.
I know the state has a manual out, a book that has every truck driver in the state of Kansas licensed in his route. And I know when we were hauling grain, that's what we used because everybody was so busy, it was hard to get trucks. And so we had a variety of people from all over Kansas that were coming down, either Interstate 70 or whatever, and catching them. That helped.
I noticed the other day they were hauling that rock from Finance Brothers into the landfill. And the truck driver pull up and the truck driver gets that and dumps and he got called. He stopped down there in southeast Kansas, got a load. So where are you going now? He says, he'd been on with dispatch. I'm going to the quarry, getting a load of rock and headed to Ellis County.
There you are.
some job out there he was going to, yeah. So they're using, the contractors have to use that book of drivers and try to contract people on a daily on that.
Bet.
So.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's been enough for me today.
Well, thank you.
Kim, how are you doing? Well, we do have, I think we've got it on the schedule for 10:30, but it looks like Kim Link from Barney and Associates is here. So
They're here early. Well,
go ahead.
we'll still only give you 30 minutes, but we're just starting early.
Yeah, there you go. Should be good.
Yeah, see, Martin was so efficient, he finished ahead of schedule.
I'm gonna try to be as efficient as well. I'm Kim Link, here to present your December 31, 2025 audit. Once again, everything went smooth. Enjoyed working with your administration and staff. Always like to tell everybody that our responsibility is to form and express an opinion and about whether the financial statement is prepared in accordance with the regulatory standards by the state of Kansas. These are your financial statements, they're not ours. Professional standards require us to advise you on certain matters related to the audit. We are to plan and perform our audit to obtain reasonable rather than absolute assurance about whether the financial statement was free of material misstatements. We are required to communicate to you any significant unusual transactions and all material misstatements identified during the audit. We did not identify any. We're also required to report any disagreements with management concerning accounting, reporting, or auditing matters. There were no such disagreements. There were no findings, issues, adjustments, or any recommendations related to controls. On the governance letter, which you have there in hand, new this year was we had to add some verbiage to the letter. We identified certain risks, and as management override of internal controls is the risk. It's always a risk that we've always identified. It's just new this year as we not a new risk that we've identified. We've always considered it. We just have to communicate it with you. We did issue an unmodified opinion, which is a clean report of your financial statement, which means your financial statement is presented fairly in all material respects, the unencumbered cash balance for the county as of December 31st, 2025. I can point out a few things in the audit itself, pages 4 and 5. It's statement 1. It lists all your funds, beginning cash, total receipts, total expenditures for the year, and it calculates to your ending unencumbered cash by fund. And there were no funds that were deficient in cash. That's a good thing. The next few pages are the footnotes. There were no major changes this year in footnotes. Pages 6 through 15, 14, major changes. Page 16 is Schedule 1. And that lists all your budgeted funds. And it'll show your certified budget, charges for the current year by fund, and then whether it's over or under the budget. And all of your budgeted funds were under budget this year. So keeping things under wrap and intact. And pages 17 through 65, which is
the rest of the report is what we refer to as Schedule 2s. And there's Schedule 3 and 4. And that provides more detail for each fund on Statement 1, which is pages 4 and 5. Highlights, one highlight, your cash is down compared to last year, about 4 million, but most of that is due to the countywide communications project being completed.
Yeah, the year before, we had just taken out that lease purchase for that countywide communication project that's getting reimbursed by the sales tax. And so we had that money on hand up front before we were able to actually purchase all of the equipment for that 800 radio project. So that's why the cash kind of shifted just 1 year. You should see a significant difference, but that was. So.
Calculation shows that overall for the county, you have approximately 5 months worth of cash on hand to cover 5 months worth of average expenses. So
is that kind of a norm or a guideline or something you see with other counties?
3 months, 3 to 6 is about where you should probably be. But that's kind of what other counties are showing. Just have your a little bit of reserve and cash on hand. The revenue obviously comes in at 2 major times during the year.
Maybe the awareness factor of the public is a little bit higher on some of that on cash reserves because, you know, the cities and school districts and so on, have their situations, and some of that's, you know, coming up where they're depleting or moving the other direction. And so I guess I was just kind of interested what kind of wiggle room we have on that, because obviously if you start using your reserves, that is kind of a stopgap measure for a year or two, but it's not sustainable for 3, 4, or 5 years.
Yeah.
Obviously, so.
That's why this timing is helpful when we're looking at the end of the year also, and they do our financial statements and review that to see that, you know, the 3 to 6 months in reserves, and we're sitting at the 5, seems like a pretty solid number to make sure that we're not over. We don't try to have too much in reserves, but we also are making sure that we're covered just in case. I had a couple of comments that I've seen where they'll review the treasurer's statement that comes out quarterly. And at different times of the year, like you're stating that your revenue comes in, we get a pretty significant portion of our revenue comes in when the taxes are collected early in the year. So you might see a larger amount of dollars sitting in what you could say is reserved. That's not really reserved. That's actually kind of meant to help the county to provide those expenditures throughout the rest of the year. So even though we may receive those early in the year, throughout the rest of the year, our revenues are going to come down. And then we have to kind of just make sure that you're maintaining your budget throughout the rest of the year. So I had a couple comments that kind of said something about using your $15 million in reserves instead of collecting more money. And that's not really the fact. That's just how the treasurer's statement comes out when the taxes come in early. And then we won't collect nearly as much throughout the rest of the year. And that's how that shifts.
And would you want to, I guess this is more for Marcus, what would be an example of where we might have to use the reserves? Not the whole thing, but dip into a reserve.
I would say, so any unbudgeted expenditures. So like when we go through and walk through the budget and we plan out our capital plans and we line up for vehicles and expenses, and everything looks clean cut and nice, and then say one of Martin's only vehicles, dump truck, completely, I don't know, it's
But anyway, so something major would
something
happen.
major would happen.
Unforeseen expense.
Unforeseen expense, they come in, we'd have to make the request to the commission, and we'd have to basically let you know that this is going to be coming out of reserves because we didn't budget for it. So really, any expense that was not budgeted, not planned, that would have to come out of your reserves. And so those kinds of things do happen pretty regularly. Anyone who really comes into the commission and requests funding that didn't come in during the budget process, that's technically coming out of, that's unplanned, that's coming out of reserves. Now, if there's savings to your budget that year, if you had positions that were open, so you didn't spend every dime of your personnel that was budgeted, then you may still come in under budget, but technically those are still unbudgeted expenses that are brought in front of the commission at different times. So.
And we kind of go through this conversation every year, but I just since this, you mentioned that item, and I think it's good for the public to be aware of it. I mean, it is prudence, probably whether it's a personal household or a business or the county in this instance, to have some reserves in place or emergency type funds.
And really even the bridges and roads, bridges, any of that, like for instance, that we were just talking about where they just closed K-15 and now they're going to have to, we're going to have more traffic on that industry road than we probably in that 6 to 8 month time frame, we could see more traffic than we would in normally a couple of years. And so that's going to wear down that road. Well, we didn't necessarily plan for additional maintenance up there. So anything over what KDOT reimburses on that would come out of additional reserves from the highway department to make sure that we're able to still cover those repairs. And so, and those can be significant. That could end up being a couple $100,000 on a project like that pretty easy when we're trying to repair those just from the additional traffic.
And I remember a few years ago where when law enforcement was responding, so they're going to high speed and hit a deer, and of course you're worried about the safety, first of all, but then after the fact, it wasn't a car that was ready to mileage out. It was a newer car, so I mean, sometimes those things happen.
And even we do have insurance, so we do get on our vehicles, we get a portion of that back, but deductibles continue to go up, everything goes up. So there's still a portion of that that's unplanned and unbudgeted when those unexpected occurrences come up.
So what other good news do you have for us?
There might be rain tonight.
Yeah, would be good news. So.
What page is that on?
Yeah. They already canceled my daughter's for today. So, yeah.
We're hopeful here. I guess you live in Manhattan, so you similar over there, I mentioned.
Yeah.
You guys have any additional questions for Kim while he's here?
Well, let's talk a little bit about a change that we've made here, Marcus, in regard to vehicles to save the county money and how it affects the balance sheet. Assets are sold and you go into a rental program with automobiles, which obviously the assets go into whatever you get to sell, but the cash side of that comes in. But your balance sheet is thrown off a little bit. Other than the cash is back in there, but the liquidity of your asset is gone.
Yes.
And then we have an expense, as Marcus has indicated to us, of just leasing these vehicles because of the cost of the maintenance and wear and tear and so on and so forth, which is trying to protect the county. But how does that affect the balance sheet when we start liquidating assets?
Well, it's a cash basis balance sheet, so you really don't present any assets, fixed assets. But as you sell off your assets, the cash will go up, but it'll turn right around and probably be used in the lease. And I know you're bringing is it all of them going on at one time?
Not all of them. So it's going to cycle over a number of 3 to 4 years for most of anything about 3/4, some 1-ton vehicles down to our basic administrative vehicles and things of that nature, deputies' cars. Right now, and I think we talked about how that'll end up, because we do write down all of our lease purchases will actually be listed. So in 2026, you'll see that on our financial statement as well. And how that'll work is, now that we're going to be selling, the equipment reserve is what's going to actually be handling the majority of those lease payments coming up. And so we are actually going to be selling those vehicles, and then what we receive back from those vehicles will then be used to help fund the initial leases moving into this first year. It's an equity lease program, so we actually receive equity when these vehicles are traded in after 2 to 3 years. So it's not like what you would get on a personal lease, and that's something I'd like to help the public to understand as well. Is with an equity lease program, what happens? They basically take the government pricing and then enterprises opportunity where they're such a large purchaser in the automotive market, where we're able to basically take those two, get a very competitive pricing model, and you purchase it at a rate that's probably significantly lower than what we could get out on the open market if we just went to a dealership. And then we lease that over time and say, let's say we lease it, the value is at $50,000, and we pay, let's just go with an easy number and say $10,000 per year. So you end up with, you pay $30,000 over 3 years, but then in 3 years, you actually receive the equity on that vehicle when they trade it back in, and that is applied back to that car. So if we then, because this vehicle is purchased at $50,000, we go to trade it in and we get, say, $35,000 for it, then there technically be a $5,000 credit that additional goes back against that car, but it also covers the expenses for those 3 years moving forward. So in the long run, you actually get to see a savings. And that's what, when they looked into the fleet management program, is a big part of why we moved that way. It also cuts down on our long-term maintenance and a lot of those issues as well. So we're looking, the city of Salina did this quite a few years ago, back around 2019, and they've seen some significant savings. Also, the city of Lenexa took over their entire fleet, and it has been able to provide some significant savings to those entities. And so we're hoping that we're actually going to see that same value with ours. So it is a completely different way of looking at the fleet, but we'll start to see the benefits of that likely 3 to 4 years from now. The first couple of years, you're paying for those leases. So the only thing that you're actually putting back against it is what we're able to sell our current vehicles for, because we own those outright. But then afterwards, when that equity starts flowing in, you'll actually be able to see that counteract the costs moving forward. So it'll be I think it's going to be a significant cost savings for the county in the long run. So,
Yeah, and we appreciate that, Marcus, working with that. The other question I have for you, if you don't mind, where would you look on your financial statement of a possible cash flow problem?
So if you look at a Schedule 2, down towards the bottom where you see, and you always see this.
22?
22? What page are you on?
Oh, that. Yeah, I can go to. I'm on page 35. You know,
There's several pages in a row after that.
So the Schedule 2s are all laid out very similar.
Okay.
So if you look at, there's the 24 actual and the 25 actual right next to each other for various purposes. You can see down towards the bottom, second line from the bottom is the beginning cash and then the ending cash. So if you have if those are fluctuating significantly from 1 year to the next, as far as you can track the beginning cash, because that beginning cash for 24 would have been the ending cash for 23. You can see if you're spending, if there's too much money going out or money coming in, either direction. You could kind of track it right there. That would be the initial indication.
Okay. I think what we're seeing nowadays, it's really complicated because when we're budgeting things, they're budgeted at one price. And then we realize that nothing stays the same. And it's really, this last 2 or 3 years has really been hard.
Yeah.
In trying to get that squared away good.
Fluctuates.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you. I appreciate that. That's all I have. Okay.
Any more questions? All right.
If you have any other questions, you get them to Marcus and Janelle, and they can get them to us. Ready to answer anything.
Kim and Barney, everybody with Barney and Associates, they're really good. If you do have any questions throughout the year, just feel free to reach out to me anytime because I can send. This is an ongoing. They don't just come in once a year and work with us. They are happy to answer questions throughout the year, and so I've reached out to them on a number of different items throughout the year, and they're always very quick to respond. So just feel free to let me know anytime you guys have any questions on the financial statements.
And I do appreciate that because I have heard comments, just pretty much what Marcus has mentioned. And it's important that our staff and officials can work with you folks and you come in and very accessible. And in another group that I have to be on, there's not every CPA firm or financial firm does this type of service as far as audits. And so I feel fortunate that you're so close, distance wise, but also just a phone call away. So.
Appreciate you guys. So. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Kim. Appreciate it.
Have anything you want to fill us in on, Marcus, or otherwise we'll just take a break here?
Yeah, I don't think there was anything significant on the consent agenda that she had any questions on it. Otherwise, I think we could probably take breaks.
Just real quick, Jennifer, because you're on the agenda, are there any questions or any explanation we need before our meeting? I know we discussed this last week, so I think we have everything we need on the election system. But that was down as a action item today. So Ron, I don't have any questions, but I just, it'll be a handy time to review it.
Straighten me out. My understanding is this is something we really need. It brings our system up to compliance with everything. It's more efficient.
It's just finishing off what
you've already started.
Purchasing. Yeah,
Okay.
this will finish off the machines for every polling location.
Now the system's set up, you're a department head, you're an elected official. So you have your budget that you can spend with. You come to the commissioners to just review it and see what's going on, but you ultimately have the say on that, correct?
Yeah, I have the funding for that. I'm not requesting money.
Okay, okay. No, I know that.
Within the budget.
I just didn't know if the public wanted to.
Right.
If there wasn't any
Right.
cost. I have the funding to purchase it.
Well, that's a good, we need to have the communication. So,
Yeah, it's nothing.
but yeah. Okay.
Does this make it complicated for guys like me that like to do things on paper?
No, this is just your ballot box that you're putting the
Oh,
ballot in at the end of the day.
okay,
That's
okay.
it. There's
Okay.
nothing.
Nothing computer
Not
like
gonna change paper voting or your preference on how you want to vote.
how you want to vote. Okay.
Okay, well, let's take a break and then we'll come back here a few minutes before 11 and start our 11 o'clock meeting. And, guess that's all for right now. Maybe Laverne Myers would know, or Brad would know,
Nice.
because, but someone, I think they did it with a laser, actually.
I do that work with laser. You do those?
You do those? Oh, really?
You did those?
No, I can.
Oh, you can do those. Oh,
What are the odds? She was just asking who did that, and like, we have someone in the room that actually is capable of doing it. Oh, wow, that's awesome.
so is that a hobby or a business?
My business.
Okay. And you yourself, or, so what's the name of the business?
Designs by AV,
Okay.
and I have a CNC machine also.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I'm an artist for our state capitol. My stuff's in the state capitol and 2 other museums.
Wow. Good.
Good job.
Thanks.
So do you do cremation urns?
Huh?
Have you had people, have you put something on a cremation, wooden cremation urn?
Okay.
Sometimes people want that, but they want it quick. That's the issue you run into is they'll, you know, something will happen and then they'll like, oh, can we have this in 3 days? You know, and it's like, well.
I don't have to, but yeah.
Cute.
Were you guys at the Best of the Best Awards for Dickinson County?
No.
All the plaques that they did.
Okay.
All the plaques.
Oh, the EDC one, you went out to that, didn't you? It was out at the
Oh,
Pier Road. What's that place called out there?
Oh, yes, I was there.
Yeah.
I did all the plaques for that. And I could have glass, so.
Well, thank you.
I do awards.
So I used to have a monument company, so we would, you know, sometimes people would have us frost glass
Oh, yeah.
for various reasons and with the sandblast equipment,
Yeah.
but we really never went into the laser. And, you know, some of that was evolving when it was first coming out, and some of the equipment they first came out with was available later at a lesser price and more things you could do with it. But also, I mean, from what I hear, sometimes people get a laser machine, but they have a little remorse. They wish they'd gotten another one. So, I mean, it's, you really have to research it to know what you're getting.
You do, because some of them don't have the big enough parameters to do something, like I can't do metal, but I have a way I can do metal, but you have to cut the surface to it. And like the etching stuff, you can like etch armor if you just want to use your Cricut with the stencil.
Mhm. I'm just
But-
watching time, but we're close, but I'm listening.
But I bought a smaller laser and then I upgraded it to a longer laser. So I can do longer things, but you can title stuff to make great big things, so it's pretty neat.
Well, good.
Do you have
Plus, I'm
card?
glad they did it local.
Yeah, won't you? Might have interrupted you there.
Well, we're,
Oh, gee, he's getting ready to start.
Okay, I'll give it to you after.
Yeah.
okay, yeah, because we're ready now, so. At this time, I'll call the regular meeting for Dickinson County Commission to order, April 23rd, 2026. Would you please stand and join in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have one commissioner absent today, and so 2 of us still constitute a quorum. And so we'll go ahead and proceed with the meeting. And the first thing we have is the approval of the agenda. And I do not have any additions to the agenda. So I'll move that we approve the agenda as written up.
I'll second it.
We have the motion and the seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. The consent agenda includes the minutes of the April 16th meeting, also payroll of $438,508.38. Enterprise Fleet Management, $20,113.75.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Question comments, Ron?
I don't have a great deal. I just want to be jumping around here a little bit and hoping we get a little rain out of the deal where we could use some moisture. So that's all I have, Lynn.
Okay. I did attend a Central Kansas Mental Health meeting. Also, and maybe Marcus would have that in his report, but Janelle Dockendorf, our administrator, is attending a KACC meeting for the Association of County Commissions. And that's at Hutchinson, Kansas. So that's all I have. We do not have any petitions or proclamations today. This would be the opportunity for public comment. I'll just go ahead and wait to see if anyone wants to make a comment. If you do, we'll go ahead and read the rules. But if you would signal if you're online that you want to make a comment, or if there's anyone in the audience that would want to make a comment. Okay.
Don't have any on that.
So we do not have any comments at this particular meeting. We'll go ahead and move on to the report of county officers. And so Marcus, filling in for Janelle, your report, please.
So just this morning, we heard from Martin Tannehill this morning on the solid waste discussion. And just to touch on, he also mentioned that this morning, the bridge on K-15 heading north of Abilene towards Clay Center was closed today. So that is officially closed off. KDOT does have a detour in place to take you from, or if you're heading south out of Clay Center, that would take you on Wakefield over to 77 and then back down. We did have a conversation about how I think there's going to be a number of people that will be taking our industry road, which is a county road, and be traveling on that. So just to keep in mind, if you're in that area, if you're passing through, or if you're heading towards Clay Center, for me, it seems like we're always going up there for some sort of sporting event. Just make sure you give yourself plenty of time to get around, or you can also use the industry pass to get by there. Vance Brothers is working on the microsurfacing on Jeep Road this week. And then they will be moving on to Rain Road next week. So anyone who's going to be traveling into Chapman, just be prepared that they will be working on Rain Road next week. The emergency manager presented to the residents at the Browns Memorial Home some information on severe weather. And they will also be holding a weather briefing this afternoon at noon in the basement to go over some potential for some severe weather coming in this evening. Eisenhower Marathon went smoothly, and county staff did help participate in blocking of roads and some things of that nature. I am currently working with all the managers, sitting down, going through all the budgets and the line items. All of the managers have been working hard to find as many savings as we can. So we're hoping to be able to present another year where right now I'm tasking them to at least look to try to find another 3% in their operational costs. So we're hoping when we present to you that we're going to be able to at least come in with a lower number if possible. The commissioners will start meeting with the outside organizations for the upcoming budget. That will be coming in May. I believe the May 7th meeting will be our first one when we'll have outside organizations and possibly some of the managers come in to present as well. Community baby shower, that will be held May 7th at 4:30 p.m. at Sterl Hall. And like Lynn mentioned, Janelle is out today at the Kansas County Commissioners Association meeting in Hutchinson. That's all I have.
Thank you. And we did not receive any word of any information we need from our county counselor, but he's always available if we need to give a call to him. Notices and communications, County Clerk Jennifer Gayton, you're up.
I don't have anything this week. Did you guys have anything in the mail? I didn't know. You had a mail. Is there anything in the mail? Lynn?
No.
Okay.
Now, as far as filing for offices, that's something that people can do if that is available, and you can.
That goes until June 1st at noon. You have availability to file for office.
Okay. And what is on the pricing on that? I guess it depends on the race.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. So if you have requests for any information, Jennifer would be the one to speak to. And I saw Marcus, you pulled that up, that groundbreaking, but that's going to be at the Eisenhower Library, but it's May 15th.
May 15th.
So it's a ways away. Okay. We do not have any resolutions to consider. There's no unfinished business. We'll move on to other business. We did have our presentation of the audit by Kim Link. He is with Barney and Associates. A lot of formality, a lot of the information we had before, but the real takeaway is everything seems to be very much in order and met the standards that they need to meet. And so everything looks pretty well on that. One thing we did have a little bit of discussion, and I thought it was important, but he mentioned that we had about 5 months in reserve, which is consistent with what they find across the state. He said usually 3 months to 6 months is what most counties carry in reserve. But if there were some emergencies or something, that does give us a little bit of a cushion. But the other thing is when he went through this, he went ahead and explained that everybody had worked within their budget. So Marcus, I guess this is really your field. Do you have anything to add to that or comment you'd want to make?
I think he actually did a great job because he pretty much touched on all of the highlights that he had. It was a nice, smooth process again, and it was a clean audit, no significant findings. And I was, just happy to see that everyone came in with their budgets in line and in order. The numbers look good, and this is always a good opportunity for me because now that I have those set financial statements, it's perfect timing to be able to place that into our budget process now. And then we're able to continue to move forward looking into 2027 already. So.
And Barney's is located in Manhattan, and it also is something that we decided to use their firm based on we do go out. There's a contract period of a few years, and we received a bid from them, and it was consistent with what they had done before. But also, I've noticed that there are, in the last decade, there's some CPA firms, because it is very intensive and specialized. There are some CPA firms that used to offer a service to do audits, and they kind of stepped aside from that. So there is a little bit of a limitation. And I feel fortunate that we have someone at Manhattan instead of needing to go to Kansas City or even Wichita. I mean, it's just so much closer, but they also come over here and work with the staff and elected officials, as well as they're just a phone call away or a short drive if we would ever need to go over there. So they've been with us for quite a while.
I think we just renewed
More than a decade.
another 5 years with them after the last time that we went out for bid.
So we do need to go ahead. We'll make the motion that we accept the 2025 audit that was presented by Kim Link in the work study session from Barney and Associates. And this is our financial statement for Dickinson County, Kansas for the calendar year 2025.
And you made the motion?
I made the motion.
And I'll second it.
So we have the motion and the second. Any other discussion or comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next one we have is to consider a proposal from the Election Systems and Software Company. And this was something that we had on the agenda, or we discussed a little bit last week. Jennifer, would you want to make just a little summary statement of what this involves and where the money would come from for this and such?
That's fine. This is to finish up the election equipment that I have deployed at all the polling locations. The total comes to $29,070, and then I have $25,000 in election equipment fund to pay for this, and then the $4,070 left over will come out of my tech fund.
Okay. Any questions?
Does that include warranty and everything like that, or is there warranty on that equipment, Janet?
Yeah, that's at the bottom of that. That's the total amount.
That includes a warranty then?
Yeah, the $27,650 for just the machines, and then $1,420 for the maintenance and support fees.
Okay.
You said that was 29,070?
Yep.
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve this expenditure to purchase the equipment needed for the pull place scanners and tabulators, and also the annual post warranty license and maintenance and support for this election system software. Total amount $29,070.
I'll second that motion.
We have the motion, the second. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. That is all we have. Is there anything that needs to be brought up otherwise? We'll see you next week. I would move we adjourn.
I'll second it.
We have the motion and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries. We're adjourned.